Okay, so how do I want to start this off? Welcome to the After Times. This is the Apocalypse 2880. I don't know what my brain just did there. I was trying to come up with something funny in improv, and it just did
It's
not
like, is
happen.
it? I
That's
was looking
I
out the
said.
window like, is it?
I said 28 AD, and in my head I was like 2846 AD, but 28 AD. No, Jesus is still around. That's the wrong direction, Ian. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cleo and Ian Catch Up. I almost forgot the name of the podcast for a second there. I'm Ian, the titular Ian, and I'm here with the titular Cleo Linda. How are you doing, Cleo?
Laughing. Hey guys. It's a good start off. This is
Yeah.
this is how we are. Now you
Yes.
know. Hey guys.
So speaking of how we are, I had the brilliant idea of doing perhaps like an intro episode, 4 episodes into the podcast, or whenever we end up releasing this, um, and as a way to kind of like introduce ourselves to people that might not already know who we are, or some people might have found us through Cleo Linda's stuff. Some people might have found us through my stuff, or you might have just stumbled upon this because like you were searching for stuff on YouTube and it popped up because of the algorithm or whatever. So uh, that is hope that is the topic for this episode. I feel so rusty on my podcasting skills, but we'll get into that. um, but to start
We'll be
off,
fine.
we'll be fine. It's gonna be fine. But yeah, just to start off, since I did a lot of the talking the last few episodes, I wanted to turn it on you, Cleo, and ask you how did you get into all this internet stuff, the streaming, the blogging, the such and such?
It's so much talking last time. I don't know what you're talking about. I did kind of take the lead in terms of the dance or wherever we were going with that. Yeah, I don't need to give you the David Copperfield, I was born kind of beginning, but like, yeah, I got to college. It was 1997. I got a Hotmail address. I had an internship and I was on a Mac that I didn't know how to use very well. And I was looking at X Files forums and then got to college and we had like chat rooms, Lycos, and I can't remember Angel Fire, all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
So this was
jeez.
like the Wild West of the internet. Yeah. And so then I saw online journaling sites. I think Easy Journal might have been the first one I had. And I kind of enjoyed that. Nobody read it because, like, who would? And so then I got to Live Journal. And
Live
I was on the Fame Tracker forums and I hung out there a lot. And I met Lily Rose, who's my mod on Twitch now. And so we started talking like 20 something years ago.
Wow.
And someone on there gave me a code to LiveJournal. It was code only at that point. So I start up on LiveJournal and I had my own very silly GeoCities movie news site. So I started that in 2001, 3 days before 9/11.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was, while that was obviously tragic, it was also extremely awkward to have to be like, so movies are more important than ever?
Oh no.
Like, you had to do the total Tom Cruise at the Oscar speech where it
Mm.
was like, this matters. So 2 years into that, I have a live journal. I start doing stuff there. That's 2003. 2004, I wrote my first like movies in 15 minutes movie parody. Like, it was that long ago.
Yeah.
And publisher said you should write some of this into a book, and I went, okay. So they they gave me money to do so. So I did have a book published 20 something years ago. I highly encourage anybody to buy it secondhand. Like, I don't have any problems. Go to your used bookstore if you can. Get on Amazon. It does not matter to me. And then I wrote about Twilight for a while in 2008.
Yep.
I also recapped Lost for a while in there. I'm throwing
Yeah.
these out because is where people might know me from, might remember me from.
Yeah.
Eh, it's like archaeology where you can see the striations of different eras. Like, which era did you come in
Mm-hmm.
for? So I recapped Lost for a while. Started writing about Twilight, mostly from the perspective of Lily Rose told me that the Sparkle Pyres play
Mm-hmm.
baseball.
Yep.
And I was like, no, they fucking don't. I don't believe you. So she's actually the first person to play Horrify the Twilight Noob,
Oh, wow.
because that's the reason I read them. And I was like, get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote an essay about that, but I was also like, I kind of get it. It's like a Twinkie, like it's terrible for you and it's completely, chemicals, artificial, but it kind of hits,
Mm-hmm.
just the very simple. I'm a random girl walking into biology class and this guy understands that I'm the special one on like first sight. I get it.
Well, and there are also details in there, like you've brought this up a few times, where it's like the story is focused on this, like to be to be real about it, like this fairly bland at times, fairly problematic at times romance at the center of the story, but there are other details in that story that are so much more interesting than the main plot, like everything with Volturi, everything with Alice and Jasper. Like there's all these like things in the background where it's like, wait, that's actually really, why don't we go look at that stuff?
Could we go talk about like everything the Cullens have going on is more interesting. But at the same time, I ended up, I try to be fair
Hmm.
in that I'm going to point out everything I think is not great. But obviously, like a lot of writers and bloggers, I had a lot of issues with it and I had no problem telling anybody that. But I noticed a lot of Twilight fans did say, you know what, you are fair about this. I This is a fair cop, or I respect that you pointed this out, but you weren't mean about it. So I think I did get some readers that way. I had a couple of people email me. They must have been really young, and they said they started looking up feminism
Oh,
and getting
wow.
into feminism. Yeah, because of what I was writing about. Like,
Wow.
Bella, don't throw your life away on this. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, okay, so that's my contribution to Western
There you go.
civilization. Like right there, that's it. So I was still doing movies in 15 minutes, and I don't think I ever did the last Twilight movie, which is sad
Breaking
because I
Dawn.
really, uh, the second half of Breaking Dawn,
Oh, okay.
because it was two movies,
Yes.
because we live in hell. So it was two movies, and I really wanted to get to the part, like the end,
Mhm.
where they're facing off with Volturi. And
Yeah, I remember your like live, like you had the movies in 15 minutes, but before you did those you were doing like the kind of like
like,
live tweeting, live blogging read of them.
yeah, I really wanted to get to the end and do the script format movie parody and have Renesmee be like, "Mommy, why does Mickey Mouse hate me?" Like, I almost wanted to do it just for that one bit.
Mm.
But something happened. I forget what it was. I've had all of these things that I've never actually seen to the end. And I guess it is what it is. So I never did that last one. I did live tweet maybe a couple of books Stephanie Meyer put out after that, like
Yeah.
retelling Eclipse
Hmm.
from the one random character's point of view, something about a cheeseburger of pain.
Oh yeah, the
Maybe I
cheeseburger of pain.
maybe I wrote that. The cheeseburger, which I think in the book she was trying to be humorous about that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. But then also when they flipped
the gender flipped.
Ella and Edward's genders, when she did that. And we live tweeted the
Yeah.
funeral at the end, where like Bo heckles his own funeral from a pine tree and is like, my mom is crying over my death that we faked. Oh, look at that dress she's wearing. I was like,
It's
what's
so
happening?
wild.
That's one of the best internet experiences I've ever had, watching everybody my mentions just fall
I remember
out.
discovering you doing that, and like I think I made the comment somewhere, or I don't know if it was me. I shouldn't claim credit for something that might not have been me, but it was someone it was either me or someone else who was just like, seeing you do that made me think like, oh, it's that moment in the Matrix with like Neo's fighting Morpheus.
God bless. I mean, it's just that book was so. And one of the reasons I really wanted to go in on the book, I bought it on Kindle, and it came with, I want to say, also the original book. And I was like, no, 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 we're going to compare this. We're going to
Mm,
do this because she claims if you switch everyone's genders, nothing changes. Like, I think she was trying to answer
mm,
accusations of being sexist or something. And she
mm.
was like, actually, you'll see that nothing changes. And then everything changed. Like,
Yeah.
she had female characters who had whispered. Now they were male characters who grunted. Like, she changed the dialogue attributions in a gendered way. And I was like, okay. So I went through, and I didn't want to get too scholarly with it, but I was like, y'all, look what she's doing. This is this is lies. It's all full of lies. I was glad that she kind of had the funeral, the fake funeral at the end, rather than be like, and also we did the entire series of books from this. I was like, I could not have gone through this.
Mm.
Breaking Dawn with flip genders. I could not have done
Yeah.
this. But that was one of the most fun live tweet kind of experiences we had. I live tweeted some other things. I think I live tweeted some Star Wars movies.
Oh.
But then, yeah, after I have, I think, a PDF of that somewhere. I saved it on Thread, Unroll. What's the actual name of the site? Unroll. People still use it. So I think I
Oh,
downloaded some
Unroll. Yeah,
PDFs.
that might be it.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, it's 2023 and Elon Musk is, I'm not
Hmm.
dealing with this. I
Yeah.
basically left Twitter at that point. Maybe once a year I pop on and go,
Hmm.
here's what I'm doing. You need to leave. So, get out while you still can. I got into recapping Hannibal, NBC's Hannibal
Hmm.
series, after a certain point. I did not finish that either. I finished the first season, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
Recapping. Obviously, I've
Hmm.
watched the whole thing,
Yeah.
but and I keep thinking about going back to that, but I don't know. So in doing all of that, I ended up going to DragonCon, I think 3 years in a row. And the Hannibal people were really cool, and I got to take a signed script and raffle it off, and I was not representing them. We were very clear about this,
Hmm.
but I was kind of their fan liaison at that point to hand some goodies out. I was on some panels. I would love to go back, but I had spinal surgery about a year after that. And then we had COVID. And so I got long COVID. And then everybody else, everything was shut down anyway.
Hmm.
So I kind of took a hiatus for a while.
Hmm.
And when we get to, if we get to talk about Florence and the Machine today, I have
Hmm.
a little extra about what happened
Oh.
that fits in there. But I'm trying to think if there's other things.
Well, so there was Made a Fail, like you were on as a
Yeah.
guest a few times, and then also a host for a period of time.
Yeah, for like the latter days.
Hmm. Uh,
Emily Forest House is her username. I guess she goes by her full name because she's written the Underfoot books.
mhm.
So
But yeah, for those who aren't familiar, Made a Fail was a podcast hosted by Dana and Kay, and it was just about like general nerdy things. Kind of like what we're doing here is just a chance for them to like gush about the stuff that they were into. And I think I discovered it through your episode when you guested and talked about you all went and saw the saw Eclipse, and it played Horrify the Twilight Noob on that episode
was it with Casey?
with Casey. Yeah,
Yeah. That was
that
her
is.
horrified shriek.
Oh my gosh, that is still like one of the best episodes of any podcast I've listened to, just because you get the glee that gets into your voice when you're like, oh, this is my favorite game.
I think you can actually hear me rubbing my hands
Yeah.
into the microphone. Yeah. And just I had such a witch cackle in that episode.
Mm,
It was so much fun. So I was also on Anglophy,
yeah.
and I was on Matter of Taste, which we'll get to
Yeah.
that. And I really liked doing podcasts. Clearly.
Hmm.
I really like doing them. So we did Hannibal, and so then I actually came back to the internet, I'll say full time, when Elon Musk got hold of Twitter, because I was like, he's going to run it into the ground in a month. I
Mhm.
almost wish he had. And I thought, I'm about to lose everyone. They're not going to know where I went, where I am. I need to get on there and say, I'm going back to my Tumblr that I've had since 2010. So
Mhm.
I'm one of the Tumblr elders as well. And I was like, this is where you can find me. I'll start posting entries there. And I started writing just kind of whatever I felt like, but I've written some deep dives on several different perfumes, which is
Mhm.
odd, but I just kind of go, I follow, what am I really into right now? What do I really want to go research and then bring you back the interesting things I found out? So I wrote a few essays. I wrote one about The Ring that I really like. I wrote some about some creepy pasta from back in the day, which we should have like a podcast episode about creepy pasta.
Yeah, definitely.
Some of that you read some. I recommended one specifically, and you
Mhm.
really nailed that. I'm so
Thanks.
proud of like me for finding it and you for doing it. So,
No, that was a lot of
um,
fun.
I had not remembered how graphic some of it was, and I was
Mm.
like, oh no, what have I done? But you did, as an actor, I could tell you were really enjoying doing it. Like you really
Yeah, like
committed. You
I'm
committed to the bid.
exactly like I'm all about just like going full force with that sort of stuff. uh
That actors love death scenes.
yeah,
Like it's that kind of thing.
yeah. Uh
So what did we do? So I did some assorted things. So I'd had spinal surgery for a herniated disc at the beginning of 2018, caused by a fall at DragonCon. I was going to
mm.
see Gillian Anderson and I tripped
Oh no.
on on the hill downward to see her and I caught myself, but it was like I kind of caught myself on my left foot and bounced
Mm.
several steps. And not only did that kind of mess up my foot, but it really jolted my spine. And like 2 or 3 years later, it showed up as a herniated disc.
Ah.
So last year, I ended up with a second herniated disc after a second fall. And I've talked about this fall. I landed on my face
I
on
remember that
concrete.
one.
Yeah. And if you're familiar with a sweet gum tree with the spiky little seed balls, I
Oh.
slipped on those. Yeah. And fell into a pile of them. I still have a scar on my face from this, which I'm keeping. I don't cover it up.
Yeah.
I'm like, it adds character. It's fine. I do have a little trouble enunciating
Oh.
from that. Yeah, we persist. You know,
Yes.
we persevere. It's fine.
Hmm.
But so that took a really long time to recover from, and I ended up with a second herniated disc. I didn't have to have surgery, but last year I spent a lot of time doing physical therapy, so I was writing less. So at the end of the year, I've really liked watching game playthroughs on YouTube. I think it started because I watched Shane and Ryan on Watcher Entertainment. You know, they used to do
Yeah.
BuzzFeed Unsolved. I watched them play Poppy Playtime because we just, Lily Rose and I watch all their
Hmm.
shows anyway. And we ended up finding Jacksepticeye's playthrough, and he played other games. So we further Poppy games. So we watched that. And then we started watching a bunch of others. So then for about 2.5 years, that was just a way to unwind at night. Like, let's see somebody, you know, scream at a video game and it's funny and they're funny. And eventually we get around to the end of last year and I watched the Silent Hill 2 remake. And it's really funny because I was like, Pyramid Head is in this. I don't know much about it. Guy with a pyramid, I don't know. And it didn't even really catch my attention at first, but I threw it on in the background because I'd watch a lot of things Jacksepticeye played just because he's Sean, just because he's
Hmm.
fun.
Yeah.
And we got to the scene. I've told this story, but we get to the scene where Maria shows up for the first time, and we'll have a playlist for this episode, and I'll toss your staying on theme video to illustrate this. But this like slinky music starts up, and I was like, "What the fuck is this game? It's been like 5 hours of this guy looking for his wife. What is happening?" And that is when I locked in
Hmm.
terms of paying attention to it. Started over from the beginning, watched it, and I bring this up because the actress who plays Mary and Maria is now streaming the Silent Hill games herself,
Mm-hmm.
which is really cool. And I'll loop back around to that in a moment. So I watched a lot of Silent Hill 2 playthroughs. I've probably seen the game all the way through at least 11 or 12 times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if it was just the background, I'm not saying I stared at it,
Yeah.
for like, I wasn't that bad, but I finally was like, I love the story, but I kind of want to fight a mannequin. They look really fun. I've never played any video games at all. I'm sure this will be fine. It was not fine. It was not fine. I got stuck in the parking lot. I couldn't figure out how to make this man open the map. I have voice memo audio of me just being like, I don't know what to do. Why won't he walk? Oh my God. And so my narrative arc has been learning to play this video game. I am on light combat, but I have done a fairly good job of it. So both my sister and Lily Rose said, you have got to record yourself playing some of this. You are playing a video game. That's nuts. I can't believe that. That's nuts. So I learned how to use OBS. I get a borrowed microphone that I'm on right now. And I start learning so many different kinds of software. So now I have a YouTube channel of all things. So I've done this commentary about all the cool things I learned about Silent Hill 2. Because I didn't even go here a year ago. And somehow I wouldn't say an expert on it, but I know a lot about the remake.
You've learned a lot and you've researched a lot. If you are all but an expert if we aren't calling you an expert.
I have many learnings, and I learned these things specifically to share them. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really cool. And you're also kind of seeing it through a newbie's eyes of like, I have seen the original game now, but I was able to kind of look at it separate from the original game. Didn't have any complaints or criticisms that it was different. I was kind of able to engage with it at face value. Mm-hmm. And the reason I started this was because I was talking about it on Patreon and being like, I'm kind of thinking about it. And you were in my comments saying, if you need any help, I can help you. I've thought about doing a music commentary, and we've told this story before, but I was like, no, you have to do it with me. You have to. I can't do this alone. You have to come do this. And I've also said, because I knew you were a musician and I've been on your podcast and I know what kind of commentary you would be able to bring to this from having, had conversations at length with you before. I was like, no, you have to do this. Even if we don't do it like on the same recording, even if we don't release them at the same times, you're done and I'm halfway through. God bless me. At me. Bless my heart. I was like, okay, but we've got the buddy system and we will encourage each other. I would have given up a long, long time ago, like I did with a lot of recap series. If I didn't have someone there, not that I didn't want to let you down exactly, but it's like, okay, but we're doing this. I don't want to stop doing it because we're both doing it.
Yeah.
So that has really helped me this year. It really has.
Same,
and
honestly.
So I was in your streams, your chat on Twitch, kind of chiming in now and then. Mm-hmm. So we did kind of go back and forth like that. And now that and we'll get to staying on theme. I promise we'll explain what this is. But now that you have your staying on theme series, I'm able to then embed those into the written recaps I do when I say, here's a piece of music we talked about. Well, now I can put that in very, very simply. So we do kind of collaborate back and forth. And so I ended up doing this for most of this year. And it's been a lot of work because I do written recaps. Mm-hmm. Because I came into the whole internet thing writing, a lot of people, like, everything today feels like it's video. Like even Instagram has turned into video. Yeah. In addition to TikTok always being video. And I don't want to abandon writing. I have people who will say, I've been reading your stuff for 20 years. And I want to make sure people my age, the live journal generation, the blog generation, they've always supported me. And I want to make sure we're still in that medium. But then we also use video as just another way to do things. So it's not that I wanted to become like a pro streamer. It was just one more way to find something to commentate, to tell a story about, to research fun things about. So just here's one more way to do that. So I had to learn to edit video, to do fun little montages and clips and put information on the screen. You taught me how to do a lot of this. You helped me figure a lot. Now, a lot of it I figured out for myself, I will say. A lot of it you did help me with. So we got that far. And I mentioned Salome Gunnarsdottir, who played Mary and Maria, because watching her stream the last couple of months, I had thought about getting on Twitch anyway, because you had been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But watching how she was able to take to it, like zero knowledge of how Twitch worked at all. Didn't think she'd do this for more than a couple of streams or so. She took to it so well that I was like, maybe I can actually figure this out and actually figure out how to get on and do this. So last week, no, this week. It was like
this week at the time
2
of
days
recording.
ago.
We're recording this in December 12th. So,
yeah, 12/12.
Yeah. If all goes according to plan, this will be coming out in January. So that might skew some of our comments, but
vaguely,
yeah.
Wednesday the 10th. I wish I told you I was getting on.
No, it's
because
fine.
You just saw the alert and I was like, what did he have planned to do today? I didn't realize you'd get
the reality
alert.
of it was like not a whole ton. So thank you for giving me something to do.
God bless. So I just sneaked on and made Lily Rose my mod. She's my best friend. And learned how to get on Twitch. And I don't have monetization up, so I haven't had to learn how to use bits and alerts and subscriptions. We're going to table that for maybe next week to figure how any of that works. But I got on and we figured out how to do it. And I played an hour and a half, maybe, of a little game called That's Not My Neighbor. It's kind of a spot the imposter kind of game, which is very chat friendly because you go, hey, did I miss something? Stop me if I'm making the wrong choice. What do I do? And that was just to warm up a little bit. And there's a couple of games I had wanted to play on Twitch, more story-based. One was Killer Frequency and one is Stories Untold. And I felt like those were, you could do those in 1 or 2 nights. And I want to try to maybe get something going with that next week. But again, it's a way to hang out with people. Mm-hmm. I have a Patreon, people who knew me from LiveJournal and used to come hang out in the comments. It's just another way to engage in a different medium, hang out with people, do something live. That's kind of cool. So I am turning 47 in like 2 days.
Oh, wow. Happy
and
birthday.
I'm a streamer. I'm a Twitch streamer. So we had a long and varied road to get here. And I also mentioned some of the media topics, the TV and the movies, because people came in at different points and remember me from this or that. Mm-hmm. And, as we get further into this episode, we'll talk about things we might get into next. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of the long and torturous road. I do tend to like horror. Yeah. Mostly it is going to be kind of horror themed. I also recapped Varney the Vampire for a while, which is an 1840s vampire serial. Yeah, it's a Penny Dreadful. And I wanted to get back to that in the new year and possibly read it aloud as, bring in some audio to the recaps. Because it's like 10,000 chapters. And we would be here for a while. And audio might be a way, either my initial reactions as I read through the chapter or read the recap after it's done. Something like that. Put it on Patreon. Could be fun. You read some short stories for Halloween, and I totally stole that idea and read a few for mine. So I have, it's about just what you're enthusiastic about and finding whichever medium, more than one even, to engage with that in. So that's why I have kind of this checkered past of all of these various different things but it usually involves humor in some way
Hmm.
and horror in some way,
Two
and
sides
maybe
of the same,
perfume.
no, and sometimes perfume. Two sides of the same coin. Some people would say humor and horror. Uh,
Jordan Peele said that the only difference between horror and comedy is the music.
oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I remember that.
And I think that's why I've really enjoyed editing video,
Mm,
because there's a certain type of comic, it's almost comic timing. It's a similar kind of, you want this beat, it's almost like a punchline, even if it's not meant to be funny, it's meant to be scary.
mhm.
It's a similar sense of timing. So I've really enjoyed doing like not just cleaning up my own video to put it on YouTube, but like actual edits. And I'll put an example in the playlist of this.
Mhm.
But that is the orchard checkered road I have taken to get to this point. And so we were talking about all of this, and I don't remember if it was you or me who said we should have a podcast wrap up.
Yeah, I think you were the one who suggested doing a podcast wrap up for the Silent Hill stuff because
Right.
it
For that.
was like we've podcasted together before. We thought it would be fun, and also it was kind of a nice way to put a button on the experience.
And then I got out of sync with you. And then it was like, okay, so we'll have a wrap up when you're done,
Mhm.
and we'll have another wrap up when I'm done. Okay, so that will be in the 2030s. I have no idea when that'll be. I
You're
wanted it
getting
to
there.
take 2 weeks.
Oh my
It
gosh.
didn't take 2 weeks. It took me 6 weeks just to finish the game because I had to learn again from
Oh yeah.
scratch. And I'm on a PC with a mouse and WASD.
Hmm.
I only realized when people were talking about this scene late in the game in the labyrinth where James actually drags the great knife around.
Oh yeah.
And for that section, you have tank controls like it's the original game.
Oh yeah.
And people were complaining about how that was difficult. And I was like, it's not any different. It's the same for me. I'm moving the same way. And I went, "Oh my god. WASD is tank controls. I've had that the whole time. How have I been playing this well? I'm honestly doing pretty well." So, I was like, okay. So I think I'm getting a controller this month. So,
Awesome.
watch the fuck out, Silent Hill. I'm coming for you. Silent Hill F,
I can't
coming for
wait.
you. So much fun. So, and then we kind of went, why don't we just keep doing a podcast,
Yeah.
like an actual one? Why don't we just keep doing that? So, here we are, and we realized our Zoom calls, Discord calls are so long, we might as well knock a few episodes out at
Yeah.
once. It's like this is just basically how we talk.
Hmm.
Like y'all are just here to hear that. We're just like this.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep. Get used to it.
Okay, so how how did you get started? And I know you started reading my stuff at one point.
Yes.
So you
So
knew who I was. You invited me. You had to know that I
yes.
existed. So
Yes. So this is going to be so interesting for me because I don't know if I've ever broken it down in this way for anyone, like people offline, people online, just like what I've done on the internet, how I got into the stuff that I've been doing, and I'll say like you talk about having a checkered past. Mine is checkered, but in the sense that like I have tried stuff out, and a lot of time I don't see much. I don't see it get much traction, so I kind of just fall off of it. And that's not just online stuff, that's life in general. I've got ADHD. I like starting things, and then if they don't go exactly the way I expect them to, it's very easy for me to be like, well, move on to the next thing.
yeah, I do too. It's
Yeah.
very easy to just be like, well, I guess we're gonna hit the bricks. I don't
But
know.
yeah, I'll try to. I was I was talking before we started recording about how like I'll give you a sense of what I wanted to talk about so that you're not going into this blind. And now I'm thinking like I maybe should have thought about this a little bit more before started talking. But
Wait a minute.
I'll try to keep
I'm
it.
gonna answer this too.
Yeah. I'll try to keep it as focused as I can. I will also try to be. I will try to avoid self-deprecation as much as possible because I know how easy that is for me. Um, but yeah, so when it comes to internet stuff, I actually got my start on the internet. Like the first like steady internet account I had, or like the things that I was doing on the internet, where it wasn't just like me scrolling through websites or something, was I started out on the internet doing Bionicle fan fiction.
God bless.
I was 12 years old. I signed up for,
That's valid.
yeah,
You're 12.
exactly.
Wait a minute, you were 12?
I
Did they
was,
let you on?
look, we don't need to get into like, at that time, my I was spending most of my time on a Bionicle fan website, which like it's Lego stuff. It's geared towards kids, and so it was much better
Okay.
moderated than other parts of the internet that might be more like the Wild West a bit. But yeah, I was on a Bionicle fan website called BZ Power, and I wrote a trilogy of Bionicle fanfics called Torn Identities. I don't think they still exist. I'm pretty sure I tried checking a few years ago just because I was curious if it was still up there, and I don't think it's still up there.
That's great, though. I mean, that was creative.
Yeah, it was creative. It was something that I did over the course of like 3 years too, like from December 2002 to like summer of 2006. So from the ages of 12 to 16, I was working on this thing, and it was also my first experience working on a project and like losing steam and trying to figure out, do I even want to keep doing this anymore? And then eventually I was like, no, I want to finish this. So I did end up finishing it. Um, and that is something I can always be proud of, that I did finish that. um,
Especially at that young an age.
yeah.
Like, that's,
Uh,
I was in my 20s not finishing stuff. Like,
But
I'm in
during
my
that
30s
time
not 40s.
was also when I discovered your stuff, because I'm pretty sure I saw one of the. I'm pretty sure I saw the Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban in 15 minutes reposted on a Harry Potter fan site. This is back in the before times, before we found out J.K. Rowling is a terrible person. And I remember discovering your blog through that, and like I went through your other movies in 15 minutes because you had also done one for Van Helsing, and I talked about in a previous episode how much I love that movie, as
I
ridiculous
think
as
that
it
was the
is.
first one.
Yeah.
I think that really was the first one.
So I started following your blog. You started blogging about Lost, which I had also started watching, and I was a huge fan of. So it was interesting. It's interesting looking back on like, oh yeah, there was overlap in interests even before we like officially met online. And I think I probably from time to time left comments on your live journal and stuff, but nothing that was like, oh, you would really necessarily know who I was over the course of like it's like 3 or 4 comments over the course of what, 6 or 7 years, 8 years, I don't know. But yeah, so there was that. Then like went off to college, and I was not as like I was not as online in college as I was before then, or as I am now. Um, but I didn't really do much online for a period of time, and then I think it was 2013 was when Hannibal started up. So
Mhm.
one of my friends from college, Theo, and he was actually the one who reached out to me and was like, "Hey, have you watched this? You got to watch it, so I have someone to talk to about it." And so we started hopping on Skype uh, and chatting about it. And after the first few episodes, I can't. Another situation where it's like I can't remember if it was him who suggested it or me, but it was like, these conversations we're having, they could very easily be a podcast, and I've always wanted to do a podcast, so let's start recording it. So that was when A Matter of Taste podcast started, and we covered every episode of the Hannibal TV series except for like the first 4 episodes of the first season, because that was when we were just chatting about it on Skype because we wanted to hang and chat about it. Um, and then between seasons, we would talk about other horror stuff. Like we talked about the Hannibal movies, we talked about the Alien movies, a bunch of other stuff. I've actually the other day I created a catalog on my personal website of all of the episodes, because I don't know, like the RSS feed is down at this point. I think you can still access it on iTunes, but I don't know if the episodes are still accessible there. The files themselves are still online, so you can go through the links on my website and listen to the episodes individually. Not the most
Oh my
convenient
God.
thing, but they are all there. And that was also the way that like I finally like actually met you and we started talking and stuff. Was I remember you had started live tweeting Hannibal, and we had started live tweeting Hannibal as a way to like also kind of promote the podcast and stuff, and also because it was just fun. It was fun live tweeting on Twitter back in the day was so much fun because everyone was either like snarking or reacting to things, and you could have those interactions, and it felt like that almost like a communal watching experience, the way that my parents would talk about watching Twin Peaks when that was coming out, like going over to a friend's house and watching Twin Peaks. And
And
I'm,
like Brian Fuller was on.
yeah,
He was live tweeting it.
yeah.
And now
And
y'all also had a Walking Dead podcast, right?
so we did talk about The Walking Dead in one of the like Hannibal off seasons. That was one of the things we did on A Matter of Taste when Hannibal wasn't on. Um,
Mm.
but yeah, like the I'm pretty sure it was the finale of the first season where you and Theo were both live tweeting, and then I think you kind of offhandedly mentioned, "Hey, I also podcast from time to time," and Theo mentioned it to me, and I was like, "Yes, we have to have her on." And I tried not to be too much of a fanboy about it because I was like, I'd been reading
No.
your stuff since I was a teenager, and I really enjoyed your writing, and I didn't want to somehow make things weird, which even now I'm worried that I'm making things weird, but we're past that, I think, at this point.
It's
um,
like it's not weird. It's only weird if you make it weird. It's not weird to
yeah,
me. I've how many years have I known you now? Like, yes, I disappeared for a while. I'm not saying we go out to coffee every week
yeah,
for 10 years, but like
but
I
yeah.
was like, I know you. It's
So
fine.
it's been about like 12 years if it was
Since it, yeah.
if it was since the end of the first season of Hannibal. Yeah, that was 2013, 2014. So around that. And yeah, we
I was
had
like,
you as a guest on there a bunch of times for the Hannibal movies, for the Alien movies, here
Twin
and there.
Peaks?
Twin Peaks, yeah, we also did that.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it was a great time. And then that went on, like, once the Hannibal TV show stopped, that also was kind of what slowed down our pace with the podcast. Because having this, like, appointment viewing to watch and record to kept us consistent. And even in the off seasons, it was like, okay, well, we won't record every week, but we'll plan out like a series for the summer, like the Alien movie series or something. And then once another TV show comes up that we want to talk about, like The Walking Dead, we also did NBC Constantine, the 13 episodes of that
Yeah.
exist. Um, then like that was all stuff that kept us consistent with recording. But once Hannibal ended, between that and different life stuff happening, like I was becoming more involved in music stuff offline. I was in several bands in the past like 12 or 13 years. I was in a progressive rock band called Lee Terrace. I played keyboards for another band called Major Player that was like described on the Facebook page as alt indie soul. And I actually got to tour a little bit with that band. These are all Syracuse-based bands because I'm from Central New York. Um, and I was in that band. I had my own band called Ramsky Alley for a couple years, which was really just me and my friend Eric Graff. And we released an album. We recorded it at the end of 2019, and we were going to release it at the beginning of 2020. And then the pandemic hit.
Oh
And
no.
we, like, my plan had been like doing an album release show at one of the venues in the area, and then everything shut down. And like we finished the album, we were able to like finish the mixing and stuff of it, but uh, Eric went off to law school, and also we just like everything was shut down. So what were we going to do? And thankfully, there was a studio in the area that had started doing live streaming during the pandemic as a way to like still hopefully offer some value to artists and also generate revenue for the studio since they weren't getting as many people coming in. And so beginning of 2021, we actually did a live streamed album release for the Ramsky Alley album from that studio, Subcat Studios. And I do still have that video of that stream somewhere, and I should probably just put it up on my YouTube at this point. I wanted to like get it mixed a little bit better, but it's whatever. Um, and it was during that time that like even before that, I had actually started doing stuff on Twitch. Like the one of the silver linings to 2020 was I worked at a place where like you had to be in the place for to do the work. It was a fulfillment center, and so they for a couple of months they put us on furlough, and I was actually able to like get unemployment stuff and was able to save some money away, actually enough to build a PC that I could stream with, which is something that I'd always wanted to do, but I never felt like I had the technology for. And so I was able to build a gaming PC that I could also stream from. And I started doing that mid 2020. And mostly it was just whatever video game I was playing at the time. And then that kind of started to lose some of its luster for me. But one of the things I also started doing was, since I couldn't go out to venues and perform, I was every other Friday I would do 2 hours of music, just an hour of covers and an hour of original music, because that was also around the time where Twitch started to have more strict policies when it came to like copyrighted music. Like
Hmm.
there's some of it like is also just weird, because I did a stream of the video game Oxenfree and it got like a copyright strike on it because it like there was a point where I don't even know if I like just wasn't talking or like the soundtrack was really loud, but I got a copyright strike for the soundtrack of the video game. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do in this situation? And like, thankfully, I wasn't like, it wasn't like a source of revenue at the time, really, or I didn't have a huge following or something. So it wasn't really concerned, but I was still like, this is weird. But with the music stuff, I because of that, I started splitting up the stream into a set of cover songs and a set of original music so that I could keep the VOD of the original music stuff, but drop the VOD of the cover stuff and still, and not get like copyright strikes potentially. Um, so I was doing that for a period of time. Then we did the Ramsky Alley live stream, and then stuff started to open up again. And playing music in my office on Twitch lost a little bit of its excitement or enjoyment, because at the end of the day, I am a performer. I've done theater stuff. I have been in a bunch of different bands, as I've mentioned, and I enjoy the energy of being in a room with an audience and getting to play off that energy and perform. And I'm sure there is an aspect of it that is like attention seeking. Like, I think every performer has that little bit of it. It's like, oh, the crowd, the applause, I can't resist it. But I don't know if I go that far with it, but I enjoy
Listen,
live
listen.
performance.
I'm going to break in here.
Okay.
If we ever get to talk about Florence,
Hmm.
I have a story for you about exactly that.
Hmm.
Exactly. She understands you. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying about it. She
Yeah.
understands you.
Yeah. I was actually, yeah, like I was looking a little bit more into like her songs and stuff this morning, and I think I know exactly what you're talking about. But we'll save that for the other episode. Um, but yeah, so I had built a PC so I could start streaming. I was able to keep my music stuff alive during that time because I was able to stream it. I kind of fell out of video game streaming because I was getting to a point with it where I was like, oh, if I want to play this game, I should really stream it so I can be more consistent with that. And that didn't sit right with me. I was like, I don't want this to feel like a chore, and that's what it's starting to feel like. So I dropped the video game streaming, dropped the music streaming, and for a couple years focused more on like the live performance stuff. Like, I started another band with some friends of mine at my last workplace. That's the band Mosaic Mind, that we have a website and stuff now. We have a few of our performances up on YouTube. Um, and I also put on a musical that I wrote. Uh, we we did a workshop version of it at a local theater company that I have the video for. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with that, because on the one hand, like, I want people to be able to see it, but on the other hand, it is also a workshop, and so it is there are a lot of rough edges, so to speak. I'm so happy with that we did it, and I'm happy with how it turned out, like especially the casting, but it is also something that I still feel a little self-conscious about. So I'm trying to decide, like, do I put clips up of it? And also there was a bunch of other people involved, so I wouldn't want to like put it behind a Patreon wall, for example, and have people from
Yeah.
production just be like, wait, why can't I watch this? I want to see this. um, But yeah, so I was doing all that stuff after the musical. I started up a band with, I started up Mosaic Mind with those guys, and we've been playing pretty consistently for the past few years. And that was one of my focuses, really, outside of work, was like working on music with the band, performing, and getting that stuff to happen more. Uh, and then all the Silent Hill stuff started back up again. I think it was 2022 that Konami did their Silent Hill transmission. And I've been a fan of Silent Hill stuff, like I mentioned in the previous podcast, since 2006 when the first movie came out. And again, approaching all the new stuff with a healthy skepticism due to Konami's track record. And so like Ascension came out and I was like, blah, it's whatever. Short Message came out and I was like, okay, this still has some shakiness to it, but I like what they're trying to do with this. And then Bloober Team came out with the Silent Hill 2 remake, and I was like, holy crap, they got it. They did it. Like, bravo. And it was also around that time, like, by this time I had also left Twitter and retreated back to Tumblr, the refuge for so many people that fled from Twitter. Like, I'm also on Blue Sky, but the thing that's great about Tumblr is, just to put it in very like simple terms, like just the chronological dashboard. Like,
Yeah,
there's
the lack
something,
of algorithm.
the lack of algorithm, and it's just like, okay, I can see what people posted in the order they posted it. And I was even seeing something like today, I think, where someone was commenting on the fact that it isn't messed around with by an algorithm is part of like what's healthier about it in certain ways, because you can
Yeah, I
get to a
saw
point
that.
where you see a post that you've already seen before and it's like, oh, I've caught up with where I was yesterday or whatever. I can get off the phone or get off the computer and do something else now. Which,
I'm free.
yeah, it kind of lampshades the greater issue of like, oh, I don't feel like I can just get off of this at any time, but it's at least a better situation than what a lot of other social media platforms are trying to do, which is just keep you locked in for as long as possible. And so that's why they've taken away the chronology. They've thrown in more ads. They've shuffled stuff around so it feels like, oh, every time I go to this, I'm seeing something different, and it's making me spend more time on this thing. That's a little bit of a tangent, but
Well, and at the same time, one or two of the things that Tumblr does differently is that it's a long form social media. It's
yeah,
not limited by character. People write stories, they do pick spams, gift sets,
mhm.
and it's very collaborative. And you can see all of that collaboration on one page instead of
Yeah,
scattered Twitter threads. And so I won't say it's a community necessarily, but there is a Tumblr community.
yeah.
It's very diffuse, but it's like we have Tumblr holidays, we have memes, we always celebrate the Ides of March, we celebrate Sasha the Christmas tiger. It's a lot of in jokes and a lot of yes and
Mhm.
a lot of it's so much fun.
And even
And
the sponsored posts, like some of those are the most wholesome things ever. Like there, I can't remember the username, but there was that woman who posted that picture of her husband and her dog, like
yeah,
after he passed away, and it's just, oh, this is like such a beautiful way to turn something sad into something that connects everyone. And like every
because
time,
it's been going for
yeah,
years.
it's been going for years, and it's like this is like it feels. Again, I don't want to sound like, oh, back in the day, but it does feel more like classic internet before a lot of businesses and corporations got in and tried to figure out, okay, how do we make the most money off of this? And it feels more like, oh, I just stumbled upon this, or things develop organically rather than because we're trying to generate some sort of perfect storm of people engagement.
People also think it's dead or abandoned
Yeah,
or nobody uses it anymore. And it's like, on one hand, I want people to know it's really cool. And on the other hand, I want them to never ever find us.
yeah,
But I also want it to make enough money to stay in
yeah.
business. I don't know. I'm like,
Mm.
it's such a cultural, I won't say force. It's a very small subculture. But like so many memes you see um, screenshot and put on Pinterest or that make it to
Yeah,
TikTok or make it to Twitter. It's like I was
90%
there
of
when the
those
deep text was
memes.
written.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the deep magic
I
was
I was
written.
there. I'm on that chain right there. Like I was here.
Yeah.
I saw it happen. Y'all are using all of this Tumblr culture and you don't know it.
Yeah. Um but yeah, so like I had I had dropped off of Tumblr kind of around the same time that the podcast dropped off because that was also one of the primary ways that we promoted the podcast. And then it came back after all the shit started going down on Twitter, and that was also how I discovered you had found like an interest in Silent Hill 2. Like I think the first post I saw you put up was about the Silent Hill 2 soundtrack specifically, and I was like, wait, no, wait, Cleo, you've stumbled
It's
upon one of my
happening.
hyperfixations.
Yeah, I
uh,
really loved Love Song
yeah,
of Eternal Devotion is now the new
yes,
title. And that was the other thing that really hooked me into it before I decided to play it.
mm-hmm.
And it was like this. I didn't know I'd turned on a beacon, but I kind of had.
Yeah,
And
and
I didn't realize you were making new mistakes, the username. And I was like,
yeah,
that was you? I've
yeah.
seen you all over the place in my mentions. I've seen you.
Yeah,
That was
which
you.
I have since changed, both because the inspiration for it has gone a little bit sour, we'll put it that way, and also because, yeah, it's easy for people to recognize me if it's iDoherty451, because that's where I am everywhere else.
Well, and you're also performing under your real name.
Yes.
And I go by Cleo Linda Jones. So I try to get that either plain Cleo Linda or Cleo Linda Jones everywhere I can.
Hmm.
So that makes sense. If it were a favorite quote, you wouldn't know it was me.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, so like, I, it's so funny in retrospect that like Theo and I had a horror podcast for years, and I always like threatened to do a Silent Hill episode, but I think partly because there was just nothing happening with the series for so long,
yeah,
and it
that's
was
true.
never relevant. It never really made sense to like, oh well, there's plenty of other topics that are things that people are probably more interested in hearing us talk about at this point in time. And then the Silent Hill 2 remake came out, and we're back, baby, and it became relevant.
But also, you found that episode description. Was I on it? Where it was
Yeah.
like, Silent Hills has been
So yeah,
canceled.
there was an episode. I think it was the Twin Peaks episode,
Yeah, it
because
was foretold.
the return was coming back that year, I believe,
Hmm.
and so like we had you on to talk about season two, I think, or like we had done an episode on just the Laura Palmer mystery, and then we had you on for like the rest of the stuff before the return came out. And I don't think we talked about the movie either. But yeah, in the description for that episode, I was looking at it the other day. There is a little mention of like, also we pour one out for PT and Silent Hills, because that was around the time that PT had its it blazed bright as this beacon of like, holy crap, Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro and Norman Reedus are making a Silent Hill game, awesome. And it got so much press, it got so much engagement, which made it that much more ridiculous when Konami was like, nah, we're not doing it anymore, and canned it. And again, like I mentioned this in a previous episode, but it was fully because their relationship with Hideo Kojima had completely deteriorated. I remember reading that they had like, they would move the location of his team's office without telling them, and so they'd show up to work and just not know where they were supposed to like set up their stuff and like keep working. And so he
Ew.
he like officially parted ways with them. And it's not like Hideo Kojima is like a stellar paragon of goodness or something necessarily. Like there's questionable stuff in his games, but still, whoever was in charge of Konami at that time, I don't know what they were on. I don't know what they were doing, because nothing Silent Hill related, as far as I could tell, had generated as much buzz as PT and Silent Hills. And then they were just like, we're gonna ignore all that and not do it. Um, but it seems like whoever's making the calls now, it seems like they have done a much better job of kind of rehabilitating the franchise. Because Silent Hill 2 remake came out, it did really well. You discovered it through Jacksepticeye. I was like, be cool, don't scare her off again. But yeah, like you mentioned wanting to stream it. I mentioned that I was thinking about stream it. You convinced me to do it. And again, amidst all the stuff that's been happening this year, like I think I've definitely referenced in blog posts. I might have referenced in a previous podcast episode. Like I got laid off my job this year. I am still currently unemployed. I'm looking for work. freelance writing work, let me know. I'm not turning this into a way to try to get me a job, but amidst
I
all
mean,
of,
if it
I mean,
works
if it
in this
works in
economy,
this economy,
yeah.
a genuine use of in this economy. But yeah, like amidst all of the tumult this year, in life, offline, online, whatever, it has been a really nice constant, a form of consistency, both being able to explore this game that I have loved for so many years and see, and also talk about how well Bloober Team did with it, dig into the music itself, which shaped me so much as a musician. Even in like the rock music that I write, you hear those influences in the way that I write my keyboard parts. Um, and and then also just getting to like strike up this pen pal kind of relationship with you over email, where we're like
So many emails.
going back and forth about the game, about life stuff, and then also getting to do this podcast stuff, which has been great. And I'm glad that we're doing it.
Yeah, there was a point where we were kind of, I would say, getting to the end of the Silent Hill 2 stuff, because clearly I haven't. But there was a point where you were kind of wrapping your commentary, and I was like, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not dropping you just because we finished something.
Mm-hmm.
You're stuck with me. I'm sorry. We have other things we're gonna
Yeah.
do. You're not gonna be able to get rid of me. Those emails, I think, are a real. That's where a lot of the collaboration happened, because it was behind the scenes and people didn't necessarily see it. But we talked about a lot of stuff, and like what symbolism might mean, what was going on
Mm-hmm.
with the music on a storytelling level. And so we would constantly be like, in our emails, we discussed blah, blah, blah. And it was just really fun.
Yeah.
And I am the kind of person who can dive really, what was it you said? I was going to say dive really deep. You said your first email was something like, I'm sorry, this is so long. And I was like, you are not ready. You are not ready. You know, I can write a 10,000 word recap.
Yeah.
You are not ready for this.
I think I sent like 3 thick paragraphs, and I was like, oh, like, because this is the thing is, I have written emails that long to other people, and I get a response, and for better or for worse, like there are certain situations where it's appropriate, certain situations where it's not, and so sometimes I get a response, and I can clearly see like, oh, you didn't actually read that whole email. I need to be more focused in what I'm talking about. And it's not even something I blame the other person for half the time. It's just like, oh, I forget sometimes how I can go on. And so I had that knee jerk reaction when I looked at my email before sending, like, I could probably shorten it here. And then you replied and you're like, you are not prepared, and sent like a 9 paragraph email back. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. She's like me. We can do this. We're
Basically,
allowed.
I mean, I think that's also why we just naturally do like podcast type stuff
Yeah.
pretty well, because it's like, oh, our brains are kind of built kind of similar, not exactly the same, but pretty similar. And I've said this to people before. I like having a friendship with somebody where we have a lot in common, but just enough not in common to make it interesting.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
different tastes, and like maybe this didn't hit for me, but like that's what makes it interesting. Or like if you disagree with something, it's
Yeah.
like,
It,
okay, but that way we're not the same person.
yeah,
That's fine.
it's the same thing I look for in bandmates. Like I've been in a bunch of different bands, and there is that chemistry you're looking for where it's like, okay, we need to be into similar enough stuff that we want to make the same music. Like if everyone in my band wanted to be like a jazz band and I wanted to be a heavy metal band, then maybe we need to reconsider things. But like the band that I have right now, we have a lot of shared interests, but we also have some vastly dissimilar ones. Like our 2 guitarists, Bob and Dan. Bob and I are both very similar when it comes to our musical backgrounds, because we were raised on progressive rock stuff from the 70s, like Genesis and Yes and Pink Floyd and Rush. And our other guitarist, Dan, uh, he and I can actually connect on a lot of indie stuff. He knows a lot more indie stuff than I do. Like he'll name a band, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know it. But like he comes from that background. Funnily enough, he comes up with some of our proggiest guitar riffs and stuff, which is hilarious because a lot of the stuff that he listens to, you wouldn't necessarily think that's the sort of stuff he'd want to write. But yeah, we have that element. Then our drummer Zeus, his favorite band is Toto, and so that introduces another element.
Wow.
I was never as into '80s music for a long time because it would for me. This is not very kind way to say it, but like the '80s was where a lot of my favorite '70s bands went to die. Like a lot of those progressive rock bands kind of
That's fair though.
petered out in
That's
the
fair.
'80s because they were either they tried to change their sound to fit in with the times and it didn't work out for them, or or sometimes it did work out for them. Like Genesis completely changed their sound and they stayed successful, but it wasn't the music that I had fallen in love with, the stuff that
It
my
wasn't the
mom had
same
shown me.
band.
Um,
Yeah, it wasn't really. It was very, even I know
yeah,
it was very different.
um,
That's another way we're
yeah,
kind of different in that our childhoods were different decades,
yeah,
and I was a child fully through the
mm-hmm,
80s, and I grew up kind of loving 80s pop, dance, heavy with the synthesizer, a lot of I love guitar, I love drums,
mm-hmm.
but I didn't so much. And I mean, you're younger than me, so the 70s stuff is more, where did it come from? Your parents?
Yeah, that comes from my parents. Like,
Whereas
uh,
my
yeah,
parents, well, my mom was raising me on like musicals, not even the good
mm.
ones, mind you, like Cats. Okay. I was obsessed with the Cats album, the vinyl that she had. I'm
Oh
like
wow,
6. So I grew up with a lot of Donna Summer,
mm.
and I want to say the Temptations were in there. We still have all of these records
Mm-hmm,
downstairs. So it fit in very well with the 80s,
mm-hmm,
like when Nile Rodger went from, was it Chic, to producing for Madonna, you know, to move from disco to that, it kind of picked up. And this is also why I ended up like really liking Dua Lipa. Like you can kind of see I'm kind of on that wavelength. But then we started talking about like 90s guitar rock
mm-hmm.
type. And I was like, yes, that was my adolescence. I was a teenager for that. So we kind of had that overlap in common.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
I
was at that point, I was like, I know your taste in music. Not all,
mhm.
not your entire taste in music, but I was like, I know what I could recommend you now.
Yeah,
I
like
get that.
I also was raised on musicals. Like
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
my dad grew up in the New York area, and so he actually got to see Evita on Broadway like the day
Oh,
after they
wow.
won all the Tonys. Um, and so I also have that, and part of that also influenced my love of just music, storytelling and music, because musicals are that marriage of like narrative storytelling and musical storytelling, and so I've got that influence. But yeah, the '90s stuff, I just so much of '90s music was is in my bones just because it's the stuff that was playing on the radio when I would go to school. And also like my parents, like there was the '70s stuff. My mom also had a lot of that, like '60s and '70s folk, Americana, Southern rock influence from her parents, and so I got a little bit of that. I've been getting back into like early Allman Brothers stuff lately, and there's some really cool stuff there because like it, I'm going on a full tangent, but I got to gush about this for a second because my friend Kenny asked me the other day about like what's a genre of music that you think people would be like least likely to for people to expect you to like, and I was kind of racking my brain for it because at this point I feel like at least amongst our friends people pretty much know the sort of music that I'm into. They know that I like musicals. They know that I'm into rock music. But I think Southern rock is probably one that people would be more surprised to hear about because a lot of a lot of contemporary like country music does not reflect the sort of stuff that was coming out of the South in the '60s and '70s, and
It does not.
a lot
It
of
does not
no,
reflect that at
to
all.
put it lightly. That was me trying to be as diplomatic as possible about it. But like there's also a lot of really interesting progressive stuff in early southern rock stuff like Greengrass and High Tides, or like even a bunch of Leonard Skinner stuff, or a lot of Allman Brothers stuff where you've got is it Dwayne Allman or Greg Allman? It is sacrilege that I cannot keep those two straight, but I think it's Dwayne Allman who had all this, like he was writing those harmonies in like songs like Jessica and Whipping Post and stuff where there is so much musicality to the stuff they're writing. It's not just like, oh, we're writing a song about like living on the plains or whatever. It's like there's so much stuff here. That was a little bit of a tangent, but I just it I got excited.
I mean, and that's the thing. The music I love, I really, really love it. I'm very enthusiastic about it. But I don't have the music theory vocabulary to discuss it. So
Mm.
I was so glad to be like, okay, why does that guitar jingle? You can tell me. It was a mandolin. So
Mm.
I was like, I will ask you in the most childish terms possible. I am not ashamed to do that. I'm like, no, explain to me what this does. I don't understand what it does. Why do I like it? Or why does it sound like this? Or why that? And so like I think that works really well
Mhm.
for us. And
This is feeling like
just
it might be a good place to kind of like wind this conversation down and possibly start. Well, I thought we were going to talk about Frankenstein next, but maybe we'll talk about music.
yeah, maybe we'll get back to Florence
Yeah.
because we're kind of going in that direction.
But yeah.
This is interesting to me because I can say, I really like this. Can you explain it to me?
Hmm.
And so we can kind of go back and I am not ashamed to ask stupid questions. There is no stupid question.
Yeah.
Only stupid answers, I guess.
Yeah.
But
You're not wrong.
not from you, but sometimes you
Mm.
get answers you wish you hadn't gotten.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's also a weird tangent. I
Yeah.
think we need to take a break and
Yeah.
refresh.
But honestly, like here's how I'll wrap it up. That kind of leads us back to the podcast because when you were suggesting, I was asked you for suggestions on like if I were to write a musical theme for this podcast, what would you want it to sound like? And you suggested the '90s guitar stuff like Pearl Jam and like the sounds of the Silent Hill soundtracks, the rock songs of those
Yeah,
that have that kind of like '90s alt rock grungy sound to them. And
yeah,
so I essentially, like you mentioned, theme of Laura, and I I didn't rip off theme of Laura, but I essentially just did some like mathematics in my head and used that inspiration and came up with the theme that we have for the podcast. And it's one of those things where like I don't think anyone would ever listen to that and think like, oh, Ian just ripped off theme of Laura, but the DNA is in there. And there's a bunch of music that I love that is kind of that way, or like for example, Wicked's out right now. The Unlimited theme is the over the rainbow melody transformed a little bit because of by Stephen Schwartz because he wanted to like hide it as a musical Easter egg. But that's a whole other thing. I'm trying to wrap up the podcast and I just get into more and more tangents. But yeah, like we've got a lot of stuff that we can talk about, and like we're going to talk about music stuff. We're going to talk about Frankenstein at some point, hopefully. Next month, we're probably going to talk about the Silent Hill movies because Return to Silent Hill is going to come out. Was there anything else that we wanted to mention that we might talk about, or like ask people what they want us to talk about?
oh, that was going to be this episode, wasn't it? We were going to,
Yeah.
oh, shit. I was like, we'll do that for, oh, shit.
We don't have to
No,
spend a ton
okay.
of time on it, but
I have not seen Wicked. We could
oh,
potentially, if people are interested in that, I'm sure by the time I get to this, the second movie will be on streaming. I
mm.
have the book, and I know the
Oh,
book is vastly different. I'm aware of this. So that might, if people are interested in that, that might be something we could talk about once it hits streaming. I know people were hype about the Magnus archives
oh
because
yeah.
you got me into that, and that was definitely something people wanted to hear
I
about.
I will absolutely talk about the Magnus Archives.
I think we even talked a little bit about it in email.
Oh,
So we
definitely.
definitely,
Yeah, when you
yeah, we
finished
had,
up your first listen, I think we had some deeper discussions about the narrative.
yeah, so we definitely, and I have that clip on my channel where you had told me I always come in and go, I see
Oh
you when
yeah.
I catch the mannequins, and you were like, that reminds me of the Magnus Archives. And at the time, I didn't understand what, I mean, why would I know?
Yeah.
So I listened to it, and I still came back and said, I didn't catch where was that? And you were like, I won't spoil it. You were like, Sasha. I was like, oh my God, that is horrifying. I love it. That's great. So even to this day, I'm still like,
Yeah.
I see you. But
There's that.
Magnus,
Uh
I
Animorphs,
have
I
a
think has
list.
come up.
Yes, I was threatening to read those, and I'm sure that wasn't a threat to you at all. You were like, yes, I'm going
Now,
to.
speaking of stuff that I read when I was 12, like holy crap, Animorphs is one of those. I remember reading an article years ago that like said that the stuff that you read when you're like 12 years old is some of the stuff that will shape your personality the most or be the most formative for you. And I read the Animorphs books when they were coming out from like 90, I think they started coming out in like 96 to 2001. And so I was young to be reading books where like there are people getting like dismembered and going through serious mental trauma and stuff. So regardless of what age I read them at, I was a kid, and it probably did shape a lot of my brain at the time. But
Hey, guess what? 12, 13, I was reading Dracula, Jane Eyre, Thomas Harris, and Stephen King.
yep.
Like, I mean, there it is, right
Mm-hmm.
there, entirely right there. Um, I had thought about potentially, like, what's your favorite book? And we read each other's singular favorite book. I think
Mm,
you're familiar with Dracula, so
yes.
we skipped that. But my other one is Jane Eyre, and I don't know
Yeah.
if you're familiar with
I
that. I have a
haven't.
feeling that
I haven't read Jane Eyre yet, actually.
I figured you probably hadn't.
Mm-hmm.
I've read it 10,000 times.
Mm-hmm.
And the 2011 Jane Eyre is really good. And potentially, and I figured whatever your favorite book was, I would know it, but I probably haven't read it. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I was just trying to think about that. I honestly, Dracula is kind of one of my favorite books now. Like having read it again, I haven't listened to the Ray Dracula podcast as well, Dracula, which I thought did a phenomenal job adapting it, and features many Magnus cast members.
We could
Um,
potentially do an episode on that
yeah.
because I haven't listened to it, but I could.
And there also we could talk about other Dracula adaptations, like Nosferatu came out at the beginning of this year or end of last year.
End of
Um,
last year, that's a catch up for me because I
yeah.
haven't watched it,
But
but I have seen the Werner Herzog
I
version.
I will say I have I've only read it once. I really should reread it, but I do have a lot to say about Fahrenheit 451.
Oh, I love that. I love Ray Bradbury. I have
Yeah,
an entire collection of. Maybe we just have a Ray Bradbury episode,
maybe
because
because
he's got
I
tons
haven't.
of short stories that are
Yeah,
so great.
and I haven't read a ton of his stuff, but I loved Fahrenheit 451. I have Something Wicked This Way Comes, and I started it, but I haven't finished it. And then yeah, he's got so many short stories and stuff. But yeah, Fahrenheit 451. To put it briefly, I was in a like serious slump in like 2017, 2018, particularly with my
Hmm.
songwriting, where I was trying to finish the musical and I was just having so much trouble with it. I was not in a band really at that time, and I was not feeling as excited about songwriting and stuff. And then I read Fahrenheit 451 and specifically read that section at the end that there's a chunk at the end of that first section where I can't remember the girl's name. She talks about how houses have no front porches anymore, and just that whole book became such a lifeline for me at that time. And specifically that section, I ended up turning into a song. Like it isn't verbatim,
Oh,
but it inspired a song that kind of like broke my quote unquote writer's block at the time, because that whole book is just about communication and connection. And I'm doing the podcast episode now. We said we were going to save it for later.
I will say the Martian Chronicles is also
Mm,
like the short stories are mostly unrelated. They're
yeah.
not. They are related, but they're not. It's a really beautiful collection of stories,
Yeah.
and it's not hard sci-fi at all.
Mm,
It's very like soft and psychological. It's some prime Ray Bradbury stuff.
yeah.
That's another one to potentially look into. I may have every single story he's written. I
Oh
have two
wow.
collections that overlap. I was like, no, I'm hunting down every single one. Here it is.
Mm,
Um, so even if we don't necessarily switch favorite books, we
yeah.
could whatever those favorites are, we could
There's so
make
many
if
things we could talk about. We could plan
if
on doing
people
an episode where we talk about favorite books and then end up talking about one book for 3 hours.
yeah, probably. And if there's okay, Disney made a live action something
I
Wicked This
remember
Way
hearing
Comes.
about that. I remember you posting about that, I think, and it was really
And there's
fascinating.
like it's okay, but there's this Jonathan Price performance just in
Yeah.
the middle of it that's like, holy shit, this is a totally different movie.
You
This is
posted
he's
that
so
clip,
good.
and I was like,
That one
holy
clip.
crap.
Yeah, so that's interesting to watch. If only, I mean, Jason Roberts is also good,
Hmm.
but that's one of those. It's very memorable.
Yeah.
His part in it. So there's all kinds of things. I'll throw in a clip. There's all kinds of interesting things. I have a list that overlaps with your suggestion list, but
Hmm.
not even entirely.
Yeah.
Like there's all kinds of things, and I'm sure as more things come out this in
Yeah.
2026, we'll think of other things.
We'll have so many things.
Also, the Acolyte Star Wars show
Oh.
that they canceled was so good. And it
Oh.
was actually looking at the dark side and how it's set a long, long time back, and it's about how a girl chooses the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not what you would kind of expect to happen.
Yeah.
And it got canceled because fan bros are terrible.
Mm.
And they review bombed it and threw a huge tantrum. And it was actually like their number one, number two, rated show at one
Oh,
point,
wow.
and they canceled it. And it was heartbreaking. It was
That
so
sucks.
ridiculous. So that's potentially an interesting thing to look at.
Yeah.
But, it has to be, are we both interested in it?
Mm-hmm.
With the bonus of maybe other people are excited about it
Yeah.
as well. So we have all kinds of things we could do. And that was one of the things we wanted to talk about, not just, okay, who we are, how we got here. If YouTube toss this up on your feed and you have no idea why, how did this, and then what might we do after this?
Mm-hmm.
So clearly the next two things we wanted to talk about somehow, whenever, the new Florence and the Machine album, Everybody Scream, and the new Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein,
Mm-hmm.
for which I also read 2 editions of the book. That was the biggest mess, realizing I had the wrong version. Is there a wrong version? Not really.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
That-
figure it out.
yeah,
We'll figure it out.
But yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap things up. Something I do want to get into the habit of, now that we're having like an actual breaking point, not breaking point mentally, a break in the episodes, is we'll just like, this is a podcast standard. We'll plug our stuff. Cleo, where can people find you?
Okay, I used to say I'm Cleo Linda everywhere, but now that's not entirely true. So I'm Cleo Linda on Patreon, Cleo Linda on Tumblr, Cleo Linda on Blue Sky. On Twitch, I'm Cleo Linda Jones. I don't know who got Cleo Linda. It may have been me and that I lost the email. There's no telling. But Cleo Linda Jones is my Twitch. I'm Cleo Linda on YouTube, where you will be able to see anything I do on Twitch. So if you look in we should probably put in the channel description.
Yeah, I think I
or a link tree or something.
Yeah, I think in the past couple episodes I put links to our Patreons and to your Tumblrs, because there was also the Silent Hill Tumblr Beneath the Null Moon.
For copyright reasons, anything I do with games, and if I preview it on Patreon, it's free. And anything I do from Tumblr, like I do Weekend Links, which is the Sunday compilation of cool stuff I saw on Tumblr. That's also free. So I really encourage people to sign up, as like, it's a free email list.
Yeah.
In large part, I do have things that are first looks, or maybe it's my own work, maybe we lock it. But for the most part, you would get a lot of free content on my Patreon. So feel free to come over, be chill, it's fine. Feel free to lurk if you're on YouTube or Twitch. That I'm a lurker. Just that is the Cleo way.
I did that for about 10 years on your blog until we actually started chatting.
So feel free to just, stealth in there and hang out. It's totally fine.
And yeah, I just started a Patreon recently. I'm still figuring out what to put on there, what people want to see. So if you have suggestions, please let me know. Currently, I'm kind of using it as the primary quote unquote blog for all my stuff, or some place to just collect all the stuff that I am currently doing. So I am posting the staying on theme videos there, which we didn't even talk about during my whole like, oh, what are you doing?
Oh, no!
But the staying on theme videos are music analysis videos about storytelling and music. And so right now they're about the Silent Hill 2 remake and the original Silent Hill 2, because that's what I was just streaming. I am planning on starting to stream again in January. And initially I was going to do Silent Hill 4 because I have stuff to say about the music there. But I started watching my friend Gateway Plaza playing Silent Hill F, and it got me it got me more interested in it again. And knowing that there is now a casual mode for the combat, I'm like, I really enjoy the game, and I think the combat is well made, but it's not the sort of thing that I go to a Silent Hill game for, because it has kind of been a little bit of a deterrent for
It's
me.
a lot.
It's a lot.
I played
Um,
I played 2 hours and didn't even get to the combat.
yeah,
I struggled with the part where you just run
yeah.
from the sheer
um,
I'm so excited there's a casual mode. I'm not a baby gamer, but I am a toddler gamer still.
but yeah,
I'm working my way out.
you can find links to all of my stuff on ian-doherty.com. That's my personal website that I have revamped so that it just looked ugly before, because it was more of a blog format and the color choice I had wasn't the best. But now it's just like, hey, here are links to the videos I'm doing, the streaming stuff, the podcast, whatever. But yeah, you can find links to all my stuff there. I'm iDoherty451 on most things like Twitch, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube. On Bandcamp, I'm iandoherty.bandcamp.com. Ramsky Alley was the band I mentioned earlier that we had to release the album during the pandemic and then kind of petered out. And that's on there, ramskyalley.bandcamp.com. I'll spell this stuff out. And Mosaic Mind should be releasing our first album early next year. I don't want to like name the release date and jinx it. We have a release date picked out, but we're still finishing up the album itself, so I don't want to jinx things by calling the shot too early. But at this point, we're like 80% confident that it's going to come out at the time that we want it to come out. So definitely early next year. And you can find all that stuff on mosaicmindband.com. My name is spelled IANDOHERTY. Ramsky Alley is spelled RAMSHKI alley, the word alley, like a street alley. And then Mosaic Mind is spelled the way that you would think. And if you're watching on YouTube, then all that stuff should be on the screen because I'll have put it in post. But if you're just listening to it, I wanted to make sure I spelled that stuff out. Is there anything
We
else?
can have text on screen. I
Yeah.
completely Yay,
Um,
we can do that.
Patreon. The other thing I want to mention that I'm doing there, like I'm posting the Staying on Theme videos there. I basically any release that I'm posting, I'm trying to make sure that I post it on the Patreon so that people at least see that it's happening, even if it's not like locked or anything. But I am also doing first looks on there for paying members, and I've started a series called Unfinished Paintings, which is I have like folders upon folders of scraps of musical ideas or even like finished songs that I've just never recorded more like professionally. And when I was trying to think of stuff to put up on the Patreon, I was like, oh, that's something that one, I don't have to worry about copyright issues, and two, could be a little bit of added value there. I hate talking about it like that, but if people do like my music and are interested in hearing more stuff, I've got stuff up there. The first few are going to be, I think all this month I'm going to put them up as public releases, but eventually I'm going to start putting them behind like the membership because there's stuff that maybe I want to like save for the future, or again, I'm trying to figure out reasons to have a Patreon at all and to have people subscribe.
And it's nice things to have for patrons on
Yeah.
paid tiers. I try to think of things for that. I To me the most important aspect of the Patreon for me personally is that every platform is crumbling into the sea and
Yeah.
Patreon can make its own money. Like there's already
Mm.
money. They're not going to sit here and go, we can't get ads to work. We can't get people to pay for it. Money is baked into the concept. It's probably not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So when the next thing crumbles into the sea, at least you'll know where I am, where Ian is.
Yeah.
And again, the mailing list function to me
Mhm.
is the most important aspect.
Yeah. I think that's about it. I think that's everything. I'm sure we'll stop the recording. I'll think of something else, but at this point, I think it's best that we say goodbye, good night. I don't know how to sign off this thing, but take care, everyone. Hope you enjoy. We'll talk to you. We'll see you next time. You'll hear us next time. Whatever.